What if Venom had a machine gun? That is a thought that someone at Marvel had. The result? Agent Venom. An espionage agent that would use a symbiote and, well, guns. Does this sound hard? Let's get some of the coolest things Marvel has ever done. Venom with a gun. Some background of how we got here. After Venom's first few battles with Spider-Man, he slowly evolved into becoming more and more of an anti-hero. He became the Lethal Protector. It was like this for several years until sometime in the mid-2000s, when Eddie Brock would give up the symbiote after being diagnosed with cancer, and eventually he would become Anti-Venom. The symbiote was at first given to Scorpion, Mac Gargan, who wore it as the Spider-Man of Norman Osborn's Dark Avengers. But after the fall of that team and Norman, it was removed from him. The symbol was taken in by the US government, who as per usual wanted to create another super soldier, and they needed a soldier to use it on. It was labeled Project Rebirth 2.0. After Project Rebirth, obviously. And in came Flash Thompson. Yes, the Flash that bullied Peter Parker as a high schooler. I
wouldn't want to fight me neither.
Flash. The Flash who despised Peter, yet was Spider-Man's biggest friend, forming a fan club in his honor in which everyone but Peter was allowed to join. Yet there is so much more to Flash's story. After his high school tough guy era ended, he ended up going to the same college as Peter and the gang. Could have been dangerous, except Flash matured and ended up becoming part of Peter's inner circle, with a little coaxing from Gwen Stacy, of course. But Flash left in the middle of college to go to war. At the time was the Vietnam War, but because of the sliding timescale, this would end up being the fictional Sian Kong War. War broke Flash. While he had earned a lot of medals and honor, he also faced a new demon: alcohol. But upon his return, he grew closer to Peter. He ended up being his best man at his wedding, which of course has been undone. He also dated both Betty Brant and Black Cat for a short period of time. But he went back to war again, where he earned his valor by losing his legs, leaving him in a state where he felt like he had nothing to lose. Yet his alcoholism worsened, especially after Norman Osborn manipulated it, damaging several relationships, such as the one he had with Betty. So he accepted the government's offer to take on the symbiote and become Agent Venom, aka Venom with a gun. Bonding with the symbiote allowed him to have his legs back, and also the abilities that Spider-Man had as far as web slinging, super strength, endurance, etc. All this on top of the arsenal he carried, built up of pistols, rifles, grenades, and every fun piece of artillery. The symbiote gave Flash purpose again. It was a freedom from his disability. He could walk, climb walls, and freaking swing. It wasn't just the superpowers that mattered. He fought Kraven the Hunter, who defeated him, stripping him of the symbiote, but turned away when he realized that Flash was disabled, making him a worthless victim. But the symbiote came back to him, tempting him through the reassurance that they could only complete their missions together. Each time Flash went to war, it was under his own will. Taking on the symbiote was no different. This was a war for control, and the series examined this wrestle between Flash and the symbiote. While it could be a freedom from the cage of alcoholism, it was also a trap into a new addiction. A dangerous alien addiction that could threaten cities, even the world, endangering numerous lives with how the symbiote could fight for total control to become the beast that is Venom. A beast that often won its battles against Flash, forcing him to fight Spider-Man and other heroes who were fighting on the same side as him. We know the symbiote is dangerous. The combination of the symbiote feeling Spider-Man betrayed him and Eddie Brock's malice ended up creating the Venom that enjoyed hurting others. That was a true symbiotic relationship, where they benefited each other in their quest of revenge on Spider-Man. Flash was not Eddie Brock, the one the symbiote truly liked. He lacked the experience to constantly remain the one in power. His forced use sedatives to keep control and make it follow his commands, with the government holding a kill switch at all times. He could only keep the suit on for 48 hours, or else the symbiote would gain total control and they would become permanently bonded. It was a battle of the mind and will that made Flash so great as Agent Venom. He found himself constantly lying, angry, alone. This battle really became the focus, with issues being entirely devoted to who Flash is and all his relationships with those around him, how he has broken so many and fails to repair even more. But once he gets that call for a mission, once he puts on the suit, he has more energy than anyone around him. He has the willpower to succeed, save lives, and kill. This adrenaline rush, this urge to all of a sudden be the hero. With the symbiote, he had access to the tendrils it could produce, creating arms for using more weapons, disarming grenades, and using the cannon on tanks. You're wandering down a dark alley after robbing a bank. You think you're about to fight an annoying, quippy Spider-Man. Nah. That's an alcoholic Venom with an arsenal attached to him that can level an entire city block. The book's first arc heavily focused on the cycle of abuse that Flash has found himself in, through his relationships with his father, his son in the symbiote, and the demon that latches onto him in alcoholism. While he's out blasting criminals and villains to bits, his home life is falling apart. He's been beaten in every form, from his father to training as a soldier in boot camp to his relationships and now the symbiote. But in every fight, he eventually comes out on top. to grow up, to survive, to save lives. Flash's father is who he considered his greatest demon. A piece he hoped to leave in the past that affects his every living moment in the present. But it's a piece that is dying. Liver failure from the years of drinking. But even when this piece of his life finally dies, another demon rises to take its place, Jack-o'-lantern. Part of what made Agent Venom so cool is that his arch nemesis ended up being this guy, Jack-o'-lantern. A dude who rode on a broomstick with a pumpkin on his head. A fun contrast between a dark-suited, gun-wielding trained killer and a guy who could be a mascot for Spirit Halloween. But don't let the appearance deceive you, because this guy was scary. There's actually an insane amount of Jack-o'-lanterns over the history of Marvel. This role is taken on by a variety of mercenaries, but frankly they're pretty harmless. Harmless enough that this one was able to kill all of them. And this is what made this Jack-o'-lantern different. His real name is unknown besides him sometimes being called Jack, and underneath that pumpkin head, his face is beyond destroyed. His arsenal includes pumpkin bombs similar to the Green Goblin, and candy which he used to melt people's faces off. But his main calling card was the bodies he left behind, with their brains and eyes removed so that they would become human Jack-o'-lanterns. Jack was essentially the Joker to Agent Venom's Batman. Except this Batman had a gun that could never quite find his target. But his fists did, beating him down as he did against his father as a teenager. Then there was Jack-o'-lantern's boss and mentor, Crime Master. Crime Master was a mob boss who grew fascinated with Flash in his suit, discovering his identity early on when the symbiote was separated after his fight with Kraven. Their conflict often extended far beyond the physical, as it heavily involved Flash's family, whose lives Crime Master played with in order to get Agent Venom to do his dirty work for him. But as these lives hung in the air, Captain America figured out the government was once again trying to recreate him, and so he went to shut down Project Rebirth 2.0. The symbiote, just too much of a wildcard. If Peter Parker couldn't handle it, neither could an average soldier. But Flash isn't an average soldier. He refused to comply and kept the symbiote to go rogue, stealing Cap's bike in the process. Why? Not for the high, but for the need to save others. He was forced to road trip with Jack for a bit, where he learned how that monster was born, kidnapped by Crime Master as a child and trained to become inhuman. He found himself in Las Vegas, where he teamed up with Ghost Rider, Red Hulk, X-23 and a bunch of other mystic heroes like Doctor Strange to fight the Prince of Hell, Blackheart. With the suit stuck to him for the time, the symbiote was at its most dangerous, coming very close to becoming a permanent part of him. And so Venom with a gun became a Venom shooting and blowing up demons. But they defeated Blackheart by attaching the symbiote and the spirit of vengeance to Red Hulk, the most metal thing ever, because of Venom with the gun. He then joined the Secret Avengers, who helped keep the symbiote separate from him. It was always there, itching. They set up a system in which Flash would call Hank Pym or Beast for the suit, but Flash frequently found himself abusing it. Crime Master had assembled a team called the Savage Six, who were closing in on Flash and his family, after he abandoned Jack-o'-lantern in Vegas. And so Flash became more brutal, more willing to kill and maim, snapping necks, tearing apart limbs, and letting the symbiote take control. The greatest toll of being Agent Venom did not fall on him. It was on everyone around him. His relationships with Betty and every member of his family, both living and dead, ended up broken. Agent Venom is about breaking every standard superhero rule for the sake of others. He embodies a true anti-hero on this journey of redemption and sacrifice. A journey that ends with him having to understand his new addiction and learning to control and try to overcome it. The tail end of his story would be filled with a lot of random things. He fought Carnage while shrunk down, picked up a sidekick named Mania, joined the Guardians of the Galaxy, and started dating the Asgardian Valkyrie. Some of it good, but none of it near the peak of the internal wrestle examined earlier. When Eddie Brock eventually took the symbiote back to become Venom, Flash would become Agent Anti-Venom and end up dying to the Red Goblin. He would however be resurrected in the fight against the King of Black. No. Yet you see, there was this terrifying internal and external conflict, full of emotional highs and lows, triumphs, suffering, but above all, there is still Venom with the gun. The coolest concept of all time. Venom with a gun.